Welcome to episode 5
of Chits and Chats.
You guys,
yes. I'm glad to be back. We're back. What is that song? I think it's
She's back.
Yes, I think it's Megan Thee Stallion. Maybe not.
Oh shit, I don't know.
Anyway, so we left you guys on a little bit of a cliffhanger. Rue finally told me, busted up that courage to tell me she's moving to the United States of America.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that, about the experience to you eventually going to the States.
Growing up, I always had in the back of my mind, like that was something I always wanted to do.
Yeah.
Coming, from the age of 4, sorry, my nose is a bit runny.
That's okay.
So when I was 4 years old, my dad moved to the United States.
Yeah.
I basically only saw him about once a year growing up. So whenever I came here, I always loved it. I was like, oh my word. First time I came, I was probably 10 or 11, and they took me to Walt Disney World, and that was obviously like,
I can imagine. I've never been. I want to go.
I'm still gonna take her.
Yes.
So basically, I used to come visit them, loved it every time, and slowly but surely, he planted the seed from a young age, when you wanna, maybe when you're older, if you wanna come here, because he got his citizenship many years ago, and it was something that we definitely discussed, but basically, it's easier for a parent to sponsor a child under the age of 21.
Yes.
It goes quicker. You can obviously sponsor your child over the age of 21, but definitely makes it a little bit more intricate, and it also takes much longer. So I went to Stellenbosch, and then basically when I was about 19, so in my second year, he asked the question, is this something that you still want? Because if it is probably the time to get the ball rolling. And at the time, I was originally going to graduate from my 3 years at Isaac Carstens at the end of 2019. And he started the process then. But then towards the end of my year, I realized I want to actually do the 4th year. And luckily, he was able to provide a letter to the US government that will kind of allow an extension for me to come into the country.
Okay.
But there was quite a short time period. After I graduated, they gave me like a few weeks, and they were like, you have to be in the country by that time. You and I obviously didn't speak for 9 months, and it was almost during that time where the ball started rolling, all of that. And when you and I got together again, obviously, it's honeymoon phase. It's like, I'm not going to drop a bomb and be like, I'm moving to America in a couple months, but we just saw how it was going, and then obviously it was going really well. And the process just started. And when I basically got towards the end, COVID obviously hit, was a pandemic. So instead of me graduating at the end of 2020, I ended up only graduating in March of 2021. But I had to basically come into the country like real soon after that.
Yeah.
And that's where I got to the point where I had to tell you, this is what's happening now, because everything was filed, everything was done. I went for my immigrant visa appointment. I don't know if you remember, we actually went together.
I went with you. Didn't we go to Johannesburg?
We did go to Johannesburg, Sandton, and we stayed there for the weekend, did the interview, everything obviously went well.
Yeah.
And the time came, and obviously, a pandemic, there was no flights, international flights was like almost non-existent.
Yeah, I remember it was hard at that time. People were not getting visas. You had to get like an NIE, a national
interest. But even I think that was maybe only a bit later on. I remember when I flew with my immigrant visa, like the flight was so empty because it was just people that were either medical doctors, high in demand, they had to be there, or immigrants. So came over, was definitely a challenge because you and I had kind of just hit that perfect spot, and now having to leave all of that behind. Had to actually go to Mexico for 2 weeks because they weren't allowing direct flights from South Africa into the United States.
So you had a whole quarantine period.
that was actually really nice. My auntie stays in Mexico.
Yes.
So it was also an opportunity for me to actually see where she is living, and I've never been to Mexico before, so that was really nice. Came to the US in March of 2021, and
by this time, I'm still like, yes, we were thinking about me obviously coming to the States.
yes, and you were obviously, childcare has always been something that you've really been
Passionate about.
and
love
just
kids, yeah.
you know, if you're intact with kids, you intact with kids. You
So
can't
that
really
is how
explain
I eventually found a little, not a loophole, but a loophole. Like if I'm able to come to the States, I'm gonna have to find something that is a national interest exemption.
Yes.
Exemption.
I think it was exception.
Whatever she said. And Rue and I actually did long distance from like March, April, May, June, July, August.
And remember, you were struggling to get a family that
Yes.
to match with.
I basically signed up with like an agency called Cultural Care Au Pair.
Yes.
I would not go too much into that because that was a whole shit show in itself.
I think just au pairing
In general, let this be your sign. Don't do it. It is not worth it.
They sell it
Run.
as a dream, you know.
For the yills, if you can. They do sell it as a dream.
They sell it as a dream, you know. Obviously, South Africa has a lot of unemployment, so
Yes.
I think they kind of not target, but like countries all over the world, you know.
Well, they target those countries. Let me tell you, they target them.
Or just the people from the countries, they are so desperate because they're
work
like, they don't
and
have a
make
job
money.
and they want
Yeah.
to make money, and then, you know, you're earning dollars or euros or wherever you go work, and it seems like the perfect thing, you know, you have no expenses.
But honestly, it wasn't really about that for me, okay?
Yeah, true.
My au pair family's seen this. Sorry, not sorry. At the end of the day, I needed an in to get to the States, and I wanted to be with you.
Of course.
We could do long distance, but it's not ideal.
No,
it
it's
wasn't
not
ideal. No.
Absolutely. So that was almost, but it was so funny because I remember we were doing the long distance and then you weren't getting matched with the family. So
No.
I missed her a lot, obviously, and I realized, okay, let me just go visit you in South Africa.
Yeah.
And this was like June, July.
Yeah, it was July, honestly. End of July.
Yeah, I'll never forget that. 3 days before I literally left for my flight to go visit you, you let me know you matched
With a family in Minnesota. Now, those that know, Minnesota is the city of snow. Okay? If you
Very
love
close
snow,
to Canada.
if you love snow, go ahead, honey. Me, on the other hand, I'm a beach baby, okay?
Same.
But I was prepared to do anything for this girl, okay? Anything. And I matched with the family. August, I had to fly over the 26th of August. I flew out of the States before she
A
flew
few
back.
days before I actually flew back. That was crazy.
That was crazy.
But I think the craziest part for me was, obviously we were so relieved. We were like, okay, yes, we're
Yeah.
both going to be in America. Come to find Minnesota and Atlanta.
Worlds apart, okay? Worlds.
So a flight from Minnesota to Atlanta is 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
So driving, I don't even know. But basically we went from doing long distance from South Africa to America, then you came to America, and then we were doing long distance again for a whole year. So that was...
That was challenging, but honestly, I feel like that's what really tested our relationship. Because if it wasn't for that, I feel like it tested us so much in a sense that we knew we could go through anything. Obviously, we went through the whole debacle in South Africa with parents and religion and all those things.
Mhm.
But this just put another cherry on the top, honestly.
Absolutely.
And being in Minnesota, being in 7 months of snow, let that sink in. 7 months of snow. You only see white outside.
You really can't put it into, you can't explain it to someone until they actually experience it.
100%. And you came to visit me, I think like every second or third month.
Yes,
I
and
flew
you
to
came
you,
to me as well.
and
yes.
you flew to me one time. You came and visited in the deep, deep winter.
November.
It was.
That's winter time basically when it starts here, and it was crazy. When I
was so
landed,
crazy.
it's just white and grey. There is no greenery, nothing is
Yeah.
growing, no plants, nothing. I had never experienced something like. I come from KwaZulu-Natal, which is, it's literally the
Also
opposite
beach
of
baby.
that.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes. And I think also what was quite challenging at first is my mom didn't believe me when I told her I'm going to America.
I was just about to ask you, like, backtrack a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
how did she feel after you told her, like, actually, I'm packing my bags and I'm actually really going? Like,
Not happy, you know, just even growing up, I remember telling her a lot, like, you know, when I'm done with school
Yeah.
or when I'm done with university, I do want to move to America. And she would always say, I don't want to talk about it today, it's a conversation for another day. Or I really think she didn't believe that I was going to do it. And then when the time came, obviously we were also pressed for, once I turned 21,
your
the only-
time, you had to come as soon as possible.
and she was very upset. I think also even upset with my dad, because she almost felt like he's stealing me away from her, which is crazy to think. But
He didn't have you his whole life, basically. So I feel like it's his time,
right,
in a way.
but also it wasn't,
And your
obviously
time.
I came for him, definitely, but I also didn't just come for him. Like, I wanted a better life for myself, build a good future,
Yeah.
like just really experience what it's like to live in the US and actually not just be here on vacation. Because, you know, any place you go to is always,
Yeah.
vacation could be beautiful and
Yeah.
amazing, but actually living in that area is a totally different ballgame.
Totally different. Totally different.
So-
and you didn't come honestly to like move in with dad and stay with dad. You basically had to come over and, you know, scrop your eie bootjie.
Yeah, exactly. I did obviously stay with them for the first couple of months because I'm in a new country.
Yeah.
I need to find a job. Like, I
Yeah,
need
you
to
were
just-
staying with them while I was staying in Minnesota, basically
Exactly.
that time period.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that was a very special time for me because I have a little sister as well, and it was really amazing. Clary, the Tootsie Roll. Oh no, and it was so special because obviously, you know, it's the sister I never had, and
Yeah.
it was really amazing. But also just the bond I formed with my dad was just
Unmatched.
I had never been that close with him. You know, seeing him like once a year for maybe 2-3 weeks at a time.
It's not the
As
same.
soon as you feel like you're getting close, then it's like, oh, you're back on a plane, and
Yeah.
then it's like devastating. I remember the last three
Good
times.
Yeah.
The last 3 times, I would say, when I think I came to visit him like once or twice when I was in university, but even when I was in high school, like coming back here was so miserable for me. I would cry the whole flight, like, you know, I just built up this relationship with him, and I think that was also a motivating factor for me to actually make the move, because I was like, I want to
100%.
actually solidify that and not have to.
And get to know your dad. Like I can not relate in that sense, but I can definitely imagine how it must feel growing up with only a mother for 18, 19, 20 years of your life,
Yeah.
21 years of your life.
And we just talk over the phone. I mean, you
It's
can
not
only
the
build
same.
so much. Exactly.
Yeah, it's not the same.
So yeah, I told her, she wasn't happy, but it is what it is, and that flight was booked, honey. So
Kudos to you, baby, for just taking that step, because honestly, if you didn't take that
it
step,
was so scary.
I can only imagine. If you did not take that step, our lives would have looked a lot.
A lot different. We
Different.
wouldn't be sitting here right now.
No, we would.
Probably would not be making a podcast.
No, we would not have.
So cheers to that.
Cheers to that. We can cheers on a vibe.
Yes. So basically lived with them for maybe 12 to 15 months,
Yeah.
and in that time period, you know, Amaze visa as an au pair, usually it's like 9 months, a year.
Yeah.
You know, most cases. Some people do extend for another year, you know, if you have a good experience. We have a few friends, a close friend, Danny, actually, she ended up staying because, you know, she wanted to be here as well. And you and I had always spoken about the future. We
Yeah.
definitely were like, we're soulmates. You
Yeah.
know, we want to be together forever. There was
Forever.
no doubt in that. So when the time came, your visa was obviously getting close to the end, and we had
Yeah.
to discuss, you know, what is the plan forward, and we ended up getting married, which was the best decision of my life. Hands down.
I was just about to say that. Take the words out of my mouth. I think if we weren't not pushed, but if we weren't maybe in that position to do it right now, we still would have done it
Absolutely.
longer, like a little bit
We
down
probably
the
would
line.
have gone back to South Africa and done it as soon as we
Gooi
get
maar
back.
kitty in South Africa. Yes. And I feel like when we started the process with the lawyer as well, and she said, listen, you guys are gonna have to get married. Obviously we wanted to get married,
Yes.
but that is the only way that we can secure a new visa, because at that time I was on an au pair visa.
Yes,
so for
it's
me,
a J1 visa, which is a working visa. That's if that expires, then it's like you have to go back to South Africa. And I didn't actually know as a green card holder, because I'm a green card holder too, and I didn't know that you can sponsor your spouse as a green card holder. After obviously seeking legal advice, I just remember we used the same company that my dad used to get his citizenship and all of that. So it was a very good reference. Florence, if you ever watch this, you are our girl.
You are our number one girl.
Oh, no, she really, I remember meeting with her. I just booked a consultation, because that's the first step. You have to just book a consultation and, you know, discuss your situation, and they'll give you the options. And she gave me the options, and we discussed it, and there was no hesitation. We were like, okay, dit is wat nou gaan gebeur. And then,
honestly, I flew down because we got married in the time before my visa ran out.
Yes, that was also another thing. Like, you can't, even from the day your visa ends, like that, you're out of status. If you're out of status,
you're done with and going home.
Deportation in capital
So
letters.
I flew down to Atlanta and we got married in court.
Yes.
How cute was that day?
That was amazing.
And we had 2 witnesses, or I think we had to have a witness at least.
Yes.
But we wanted to have Jennifer
and Druki,
besties, still our besties.
Oh.
They were our witnesses, basically our maid of honors, our bridesmaids, witnesses all in one. They came with us that day. We got married. It was so beautiful. We had a little mini moon in Toccoa. I loved that. And I went back to Minnesota. Honestly, that was the hardest. And I feel like it's always when it comes to the last bit, like the last 2-3 months of anything in your life, when you know you're going to transition into anything.
Oh, yes.
It was so hard because we just got married and now I need to go back to this au pair family.
To the freezing cold snow.
Oh, it was a time. It was a time. But I feel like after we got married, it was just like the ball started rolling.
You know, I started looking for an apartment, because how I actually found the area that we're living in now, Dunwoody, great area. And the job I had, I was working at a South African restaurant. Honestly, for the first 2-3 years that I was living here, and that is in an area called Buckhead, which is not far from where we stay now. So originally I knew, okay, I want to find an apartment in the area close to my job.
Yes.
But I was also doing some Instacart on the side, which is basically like Checkers 60/60.
Yes.
But just
go work 2 jobs, hey? 2 jobs.
Yeah, I was working from the morning till the evening, but also it was really like I had that fire in me, you know. And I honestly get that from my dad. Like, he is very hardworking. And my stepmom as well. Dawnie. Oh my word. Like, she and both of them really just inspired me so much to like want to do more and like want to work harder, you know. And
if you didn't do that, honestly, I don't think we would have been able. I wouldn't have been able to just come from Minnesota and walk right into an apartment, basically, with you. I would have probably had to move in with my dad-in-law too, which Kudu, we love you, and I would do that hands down any day.
Oh yeah, now we're probably like, we want to actually go live there just because they're cool.
Just because. But I feel like as a newlywed couple, like that is maybe not the move we wanted to pursue.
No, and also just, you know, starting your own, because at that point it was 15 months in.
Yeah.
I definitely didn't come to America just to live with my dad, you know. Like, I want to start my own life. Like, I was 23 at the time. Like, this is the time, you know. And so basically, when I was doing the Instacart, I found this area. I remember driving into Dunwoody one day and I was like, oh my word.
You called me that day.
Yes, because, you know, a lot of the areas around, not in this, obviously, city of Atlanta is buildings and city vibes, but the rest is pretty like suburban, you know. And I remember driving into Dunwoody and it felt like a mini city just outside of the city. And I was just sold, you know, and I started looking at apartments here. I told her, I was like, this is the area I want to stay. And I ended up finding that apartment, and that was really the beginning of our journey as a married couple in America, and you moved to Atlanta. That was the best thing that could have happened. Just, it was a no-brainer, because Minnesota, the time when I went there and I saw that snow, I was like, hell to the no.
But not even that. Like, the job as an au pair was really, it was not it, okay? They sell this glorious life to you. It is really not that. I really realized there that America is not just the American dream. There are still people here that struggle. There are still people here that work extremely hard for no money. Okay?
Because the thing is, what no one actually tells you is the reason why these families all over America get au pairs is they know that there is no American that will work for that amount of money. They can't afford the childcare here, so they see an easy way out, because people coming here from whichever country, South Africa, other, underprivileged, not first, third world countries, they don't get money in dollars. So when you hear American dollars, you're like, okay, and you convert it into rands.
So
I think that time it was like 13,000
rand, which is still 5 years ago nothing. Okay, but if you come straight out of college
and you don't have a job in South Africa,
I mean 13,000 is better than nothing.
Absolutely, you don't have to pay rent. There are some perks to it.
No, there's definitely some perks, but it just solidified our decision moving to Atlanta and moving in together, and basically, doing our own thing after that, with applying for me for a green card, you sponsoring me, that whole situation that happened in Minnesota really made me super grateful for the position that I was in when I moved to Atlanta.
Oh, absolutely. And Atlanta is the city. I'm telling you, anyone,
the city.
You gotta just come and experience it, because I feel like it gives Cape Town without the beach.
It's definitely Cape Town without the beach.
Yes.
The people are the same. Food, I'd say, that's a discussion for a whole nother day.
If you have money and you can go to restaurants every single night, you'll be fine, but it's just But
one meal at a restaurant is a whole week's worth of groceries.
Exactly.
I think we've touched base on that previously too. It's unaffordable to be able...
Eating out every night.
No, and for you to have good food and experience the city and... the American dream in like food culture, you really have to have money.
Absolutely.
You do have to. Yeah.
And we were just starting off and I remember the craziest part was there was a time period while we were waiting for your work authorization where you weren't able to work.
Yeah, and that was the hardest part.
Because, if you don't have work authorization, you can't be working.
No.
So you basically came here and it was just a waiting game. So I was still working two jobs just to make ends meet, and we were just waiting and
I was
waiting,
a little housewife. I made dinner, I did the laundry, I cleaned the apartment, made sure when the wifey gets home she's got a meal. Oh, I lived the life, hunty, I'm telling you.
No, it was
Those were the days. Those were the days. But anyway, fast track to eventually being able to work in the United States.
Yes.
And getting my work authorization, I feel like that just lifted a whole weight off of both of our shoulders.
Yes.
I think we also need to touch base on the fact that
you were also able to work obviously on the J1, just so people don't get confused. You were able to work as an au pair, but when that obviously expired, it was that gap. Where it's like also crazy to go from being able to work here, then not being able to work here.
Yes, and that waiting game put a lot of pressure on our relationship, and I feel like we handled it really, really well.
Oh yes,
like we just sucked it up, and we were like, you know what, we're following the right channels, we're going the right routes, we're not gonna,
It's not easy. Immigration is not easy, and it is not cheap, but it is so worth it.
It is so worth it. I feel it tested us in our first year of marriage, and I feel if we did not have that test, obviously we had a lot of tests, long distance, the mom, the everything, but that really gave us that opportunity to really get to know each other and be like, you know what? Tough times, hard times, we got that shit.
Absolutely.
Okay? We're not gonna succumb to any of that, honestly.
It really set the foundation for us to. When that came through, it was just a breath of fresh air. Like, she was able to start working, and it was just life changing. I
It
really
was.
can't
When I
explain it.
received my work authorization, that was a day to celebrate.
Oh, we celebrated, honey.
We celebrated, and I think I'm wrapping up episode 5 right there. Bye.